Wabanaki Wabanaki me got a spell Madiek, Bukalanda Muja Wabanaki Wabanaki.
Wait, John Manelli.
Well, Jarvis, well, that's well, not basing.
Well, Alan. So the big question I like to ask for our audience is, what exactly is the Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance?
Of course. So the Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance is an organization that helps support Two-Spirit folks in the region. We call it Wabanaki because that's our the ancestral name that we have of the whole region, including Mi'kma'ki, based on the alliance of confederacies that we had with our nations. And historically, we had relationships with each other as nations, so we honored the name Wabanaki. The part about Two-Spirit is, the identity around being Two-Spirit, and I'll talk about that in a second. And the alliance, of course, is the nature of having us work together and collaborate and knowledge sharing and to make sure that we get projects done that supports Two-Spirit people. So the Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance was consolidated as an organization back in 2010 with our first regional gathering that we had in Liscombe Lodge. And we struck up this alliance or this organization through necessity. We needed to support Two-Spirit people in the region. We saw an increase of people harming themselves or not understanding who they were in their own skins with reference to their gender or with their sexuality or with their identity within the context of being Ulnu or being Mi'kmaq or being Wolustiquig or Penobscot or Passamaquoddy. Duma Young and I co-founded the organization. And at this point, Duma calls me, I just came out to my family. I didn't even have a chance to really, come out to everybody or what have you. But Duma calls me and he says, John, congratulations on being out. I'm glad that you did that. But we have work to do. straight to the chase. And I said, okay, could you give me some context? As you know, he says, our community is suffering from loss of life because people are taking their lives due to the fact that they don't know who they are, maybe. We don't know exactly what the reason is, but we think that it might be a comorbidity of issues that plague our community as Two-Spirit people. And it's been a long time since we had an opportunity to have people come together as Two-Spirited people, or people who are gender diverse, or sexuality diverse, or people who celebrate their identity in different ways, not necessarily as heterosexual people. We had funding from Health Canada at the time. We had funding from ARP, which was a organization that supported for research in the Atlantic. We had funding from communities, support from communities first and foremost. The health directors around the region understood that there was a need for young people maybe, or anybody from the community to attend this gathering. And so that was our first thing, to have that gathering. We had ceremonies, we had sharing circles, we had healing circles, we had people share their stories about who they are and their experiences about coming out, for example. And so those conversations about people having their identity, or people being with people in circle or in ceremony who are gender diverse, who are diverse in their sexuality or in their expressions of being Ulnu, in however they are. So it was an opportunity for people at this gathering, at the Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance, the first gathering we had at Liscombe Lodge, was to really explore who they are, share their journeys, share their lived experiences. And the biggest thing we walked away from there is a mandate to continue building an alliance of support for the Wabanaki folks who are Two-Spirited. So that's how we started, because of what had happened tragically in some of these communities. But the big message from our elders and our knowledge carriers from this gathering and the people that participated at this gathering was that let's do better. Let's not explore how Two-Spirit people are always being stigmatized, or how people who are indigenous are stigmatized. In fact, they said, let's not make this about mental health or a strategy for addressing suicide ideation or suicide, for example, or things that are wrong with us. Let's celebrate the fact that we are here gathering, we're sharing stories of hope and sharing stories about living and moving forward. That's what essentially was the main message.
You have quite a bit of art in your home. Could you share some of that with us?
Yeah, we do have wonderful pieces that we've been gathering over the years. I often collect Ulnu art, first and foremost, and then different indigenous art across Canada and or internationally. You can't really determine if it's two males or two females or a male or female. So that's what, was important to me. But the most important thing about the piece was the colors and the texture and everything else, and the spirit of love that was in the painting itself. So someone gave it to us and said, "You're old Noog. You should be having your own art." We had this conversation with elders for some time. What is Two-Spirit? What can we introduce as a word? And they came up with a word, and they said, "Edui Jijami Jui Noog." And we looked at it, and it was fantastic. The word is inclusive of being spirited, and it doesn't give a number, or it's not two. It's just the fact that you are a spirited person. You're unique. Your spirits may be in relation to gender. Your spirits may be in relation to sexuality, but that you are part of the community. And so that word is powerful, and we introduced it at the Junos. We used it for the first time ever in a public space by saying, "We are two-spirited." It's an integral conversation that we're having all around with the legal people, the educators, the people that are producing policies around health, people that are doing research around identity, and then how do we have that conversation with everybody and try to guide the conversation to move forward that's inclusive of people like myself. And so that's the role of Wabanaki.
Did you know that there are many Mi'kmaq language orthographies throughout Mi'kma'ki? Some of them are Smith Francis, Metallic, Listugush, Lexicon, Pacifique, and Rand. On Treaty Day in 2002, the Mi'kmaq Nova Scotia Canada Tripartite Forum, without limiting the use of the other orthographies, declared the Smith Francis orthography the official orthography within Nova Scotia. It is also the official orthography for the Mi'kmaq Grand Council, the Sankti Mawiomi.
One of the big cultural things that I'm proud of over the years is learning about our language and culture, and learning about image and symbols, about being Mi'kmaq, for example, or Ulnu. And so one of the things I've been doing over the years is gathering art, and different types of art. Like there's basketry, there's crafts, there's people writings, and a lot of it is visual, as you can see. On my right over here, you'll see the Grand Chief Member 2 by Alan Sylliboy, a depiction of the contact period. And then over the years, I started becoming interested in tattoo art. So I started off with, small pieces like the Mi'kmaq Star. This piece here is an actual piece from this dot painting by Valerie Meader from Millbrook. Folks who over the years had given me art pieces or baskets for, like just saying thank you for giving a presentation or something like that. So I've been collecting them in our cabinet there for years. And there's one particular piece that's in there that's a quill basket that I have that we collected from a friend of ours, actually. And they have a unique story around it. They said that that basket is in good shape because she is in her late 70s now, and she said her grandmother had it. Wow. And her grandmother had given it to her mother as a wedding gift, and then she had her grandmother's love letters in that basket over the years. And so that was stored in a cabinet with the love letters inside it. And so that's why it kept so well. And so she said, John, he goes, it's been in our cabinet for years and years and years. It's over 100 years old. The basket's about 125 years, we calculate. And so we said that we would hold it, and then one day when the Mi'kmaq Bird project opens, then we would donate it back to them. So that's what we're trying to do.
Exciting, it's beautiful.
In my master's, I was looking at identity as a evolving circular motion of movement that encompasses not only your sex and sexuality and gender, but it encompasses your spirituality and your sense of cultural identity, and your anchor identity is being Ulnu. That's the most important identity. The others enhance your identity as you grow into your adulthood or your personhood later on. And sexuality, if it's all balanced, if you have all the things that are balanced around you spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally, if you have that balance of those realms, then you're ready to come out. And what we're trying to do is provide those balancing of the realms for younger people so that they are ready to come out when they can. And when they're younger, because they don't have to go through all of those traumas that we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation. What had happened to people, for example, in our communities who self-harmed or self-harmed themselves, not knowing who they are. And so by understanding that your identity is evolving in a circular way, it's non-binary. It's not male and female. It's not strictly a line that says you're this or that. That in fact, yours is a process by which throughout your lifetime, it evolves. You know, the point about our identity is about the inclusion of all these aspects and contexts. So it's not necessarily about who you sleep with. It's not about who you, how you genderize yourself. It's about all of those things, plus your identity as a person within the culture of context, right? And so that's important as well. And then when we start looking at the Western component of identity, which is very much, for a lot of people, very biomedical. Mm-hmm. They look at sex and boy and girl and genes and, you know, the genitalia, for example, that determines your identity as a person rather than understanding that it's a whole personhood. So one of the collections that I have, of course, is the Two-Spirit doll. I got the doll from Crystal Glowed. A few years ago, I had asked if they could make a Two-Spirit doll. Their question was, could you share some, things that may represent a Two-Spirit doll? I said, well, one is that it's ungendered, so we wouldn't know what the gender of the doll is by just looking at it. And then include in there like symbols that be representative of a Two-Spirit person. It's a wonderful rendition of, depiction of what a Two-Spirit doll would look like. So that's a beautiful work.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. Our language is ungendered.
Mm-hmm.
If we go to the core of our belief systems, we always understood that the role of male, female, and we honor those roles as male and females as child bearers and family dwellings and the core family process and everything, and how children are brought up. But our language says, for example, our pronouns uses, for example, are ungendered. So negum is male or female, examples of that. So when we look into our cultural worldview and our understandings of our language and what our culture says and what our belief systems say and what our education says and what our models of dajigemeg means, like how we are and how we are well, is determined on that sense of acceptance and celebration of people and making sure that we provide spaces for everybody to feel welcomed. Jealousy is coming to my space. And so jealousy is how we're making sure that we go with that concept, that we are welcoming people in the best way that we can, and that they feel safe in that space. As I was mentioning, that people, for example, when they use terminology to self-identify, they often use terms that are in English right now. So gay, lesbian, trans, bi, queer, pansexual, etc. There's all kinds of terms that are out there for people who speak English. And the plus is often the terms of people that may identify that don't fall under those
typical ones.
Typical ones, right. And so our folks in our community who are Mi'kmaq or Ulnu or Wolustigwig often use English terms because we don't have our own terms as of yet.
Did you know that the word teepee was never used by the Mi'kmaq? It comes from the Anishinaabe. As Mi'kmaq, we use wigwam, which means dwelling. It was usually made up of about 5 spruce poles, covered with birch bark, which was waterproof and portable. The doorway was a large hide, and the floor was lined with fir twigs, woven mats, and animal furs.
I was seeing in the news a couple of weeks ago about issues of home security with respect to transgender youth here in Jabukduk. And as executive director of the Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance, I want to ask, are you aware, have you seen issues, concerns with respect to home security with our Indigenous transgender youth here in the city?
We did our own survey last summer to understand exactly what two-spirited folks are saying about the need around home security and what are the recommendations to build transitional homes and shelters for people who are escaping gender-based violence, for example. People are in the situations where people are trying to leave domestic violence and or simply homophobic or transphobic situations. Often, you had mentioned before, people are often facing racism, transphobia, queerphobia, and homophobia, and perhaps on top of that, challenging situations in their community where they can't find housing. So all of those are comorbidity of social issues that intersect, and that one person has to deal with all of this. And so we have to try to provide those supports for those people, for our community. We've been in the process of developing a project in the region. We're one of the only projects across Canada that is developing a two-spirited transitional home and shelter. And there has never been two-spirit policies around housing and or transitional homes or even shelters. And so what does that two-spirit shelter look like? For example, a person who had gone to surgery, top or bottom, may require specific care needs inside a shelter. That perhaps it's not necessarily just a bed and a dresser beside it and you know, some place to put your clothes in. And so we're researching all of these things and learning that the need goes beyond just a bed and or maybe a hot meal. It goes to safety and security even.
Executive Director for the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, Pam Glode, also pressed on this issue of housing.
It's a huge issue in Halifax. So we make up less than 4% of the population, but yet we're making up 30% of the homeless population. And, you know, we're seeing that grow, but we also have a challenge of people who, well, identify as Indigenous, who are not. So when they get to us, we're asking tough questions, but we're asking the questions because resources are limited for community members as it is, and we need to make sure that we're actually addressing those individuals that truly have been impacted by colonization. So it's always this fine line that we walk. We are a friendship center, so we have an open door policy. We know that we have a lot of people who've been disconnected from community for many different reasons, but certainly our programs and services, our goals are to address urban Indigenous folks. So while we have a lot of Mi'kmaq people, we have people from right across Canada, so Cree, Ojibwe, you know, they're coming from all over. And so just making sure that we're using our resources appropriately, but the housing and homelessness piece is huge. We know that what we need is investment in long-term housing. We've had experience with shelter, ended very ugly. We had a lot of human trafficking, a lot of drug use, and so we walked away from that. It's not for our community. We need to find our own way, and I believe we have through programs like the Diamond Valley Healing Center. We have a program in Waverly and in Bedford as well. Those two are Indigenous women specifically, but also looking to create something in Dartmouth, and hopefully that's another project we'll be able to talk about soon with the support of the chiefs as well. Very similar process for that project that we did with the Diamond Bailey Healing Center, but this will be long-term housing, hopefully for Indigenous folks. We need to invest in long-term pieces. Band-aid solutions are not where we need to be. We need to be thinking long-term, 7-generational thinking. But the reality is we need us all working at this. It's not just one organization's responsibility, it's our responsibility. So we'll get there, it's a long-term process.
I find Michelle Sylliboy explanation around petroglyphs, for example, powerful, because communication is not only about numeracy and literacy and speaking. It can be about symbols and visuals and how we move and how we behave. All of that is part of identity. And so I really acknowledge the fact that Michelle's work has really expanded our understanding about the need to understand that we don't need to use him and her to understand what is our identity. We have all kinds of symbols, we have art, and we may have tattoos, or we may have, art like this on the wall. This beautiful drum by Alan Sylliboy that shows the two spirits. There's all kinds of ways that we express who we are, and that's most important. It's not knowing who you're sleeping with. That's not my. I don't need to know that. What I need to know is that you love whoever you love, and you're respectful, and you're part of our community, and we acknowledge that.
I have learned so much today about just the incredible work that the Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance is doing. Important work I think that's great for health, safety, well-being, youth, our people today. I'm looking forward to seeing good changes that are happening, and to me, it definitely sounds like Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance has been a pioneer for that. Well, all in.
Thanks, Jairus. Do a heart-to-heart. Oh, thank you. Well, all in, Jairus.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wabanaki me got a spell mani Bukulana Muja Wabanapi Bukulana Muja Wabanapi Bukulana Muja Wabanapi Bukulana Muja Wabanapi Bukulana Muja Samwayaka Bukte Wicha Wabasamwayak Bukulana Muja Wabasamwayak Wabanaki